Of the throng for the dog walk before Georgia gets ready to take on UMass. Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Adams. This is our Kroger Kickoff from the Tay parking deck right next to Sanford Stadium, only a couple of minutes away from the dog walk. As Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs will make their way through this throng of crowd inside to take on the Minutemen in a game that'll start at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So happy to have you with us. Really appreciate Kroger making it all possible as well, as despite the fact that Georgia's playing an opponent that's not exactly as high profile as the matchup last Saturday in the Deep South's oldest rivalry against Auburn, you certainly would not be able to tell that from looking around the dog walk right now, as Georgia fans on both sides of this fence lined up as far as you can see. Many folks excited about beautiful fall weather here in Athens and a chance to see the Dogs one more time. The reigning back-to-back SEC East champions, number 5 in the country, with clean old-fashioned hate in Georgia Tech the following Saturday, and the SEC championship against Alabama the week after that. This is a Georgia fan base right now that is fired up and ready for the conclusion of the 2018 season. We'll do our part to preview everything that's going to happen today, though, between Georgia and UMass, before we get a chance to show you live on video the Dogs making their way into the stadium right now. A lot of that's going to include your comments here as well on both Facebook and YouTube. We'll look forward to reaching out and hearing from you a lot on there, and we'll try to bring you the sights and sounds as they happen for what should be a very interesting day inside Sanford Stadium here today. By the way, huge thanks to Kroger for making all this possible. Don't forget, when you're thinking about your Thanksgiving plans here this week, make sure you check out your local Atlanta area Kroger for yellow tag savings on every aisle and all the items that you need to get ready for the big holiday coming up on Thursday. And when you think about this time of year, when you think about Kroger Ship, the most convenient way to get involved and get those everyday essentials delivered right to your door, check out Kroger Ship online, and you can find out how you can save 15% off your first order and get free shipping there as well on that first order as well. So make sure you check that out. We'll look forward to getting a lot of your comments here, and have a great time on our Kroger Kickoff today. A couple things to think about as we get ready to go into the dog walk in just a couple of minutes. First of all, today, Georgia more than a 40-point favorite in the game. Obviously, that means that if Georgia's able to build a big lead early, it's a chance that we could see young players on both sides of the ball getting more action than we've seen them get in recent weeks. You think about the running back position here for a moment, where over the last couple of Saturdays, DeAndre Swift, I think, has emerged as, now it may be too late to win the Heisman for 2018, but when you think about what the definition of a Heisman candidate is, Swift was at the beginning of the year, but health probably prohibited that from going down that way. Now he's fully healthy, but let's face it, the chances of him getting a lot of carries against the Minutemen, probably not great, probably not even necessary. Does that mean that the door is open for a freshman like James Cook to get more action today than we've seen him get at any point in time here in the 2018 season? Obviously, the same issue goes for the quarterback spot as well, where Jake Fromm, after struggling against LSU, has bounced back in a big way in the games after that, against Florida and against Kentucky, last Saturday against Auburn. That means for Jake Fromm, he seems to have a solid grip on the starting position in Georgia. Maybe that opens the door for Justin Fields, though. I was suggesting the SEC Network this morning that Fields might get more snaps. The SEC Network reported the hope was to get Fields 20 snaps today. Maybe that is indeed the case. We see him involved on that side of the ball. Defensively, it may be a lot about what's happening in the secondary. Where last week we saw a freshman sit down for a while. The cornerback Tyson Campbell. In his place was redshirt freshman Eric Stokes. There's obviously an ongoing position battle between Otis Reese and Richard LeCounte. So you could be with the program in your lap today, the binoculars in your hand, looking to see all those young guys for Georgia that get involved and see what's going on there. So we'll obviously pay close attention to all that all day long today. I'll also remind you of a couple things here as well. The Dog Nation is going to have coverage even beyond our Kroger Kickoff here today. Make sure you check out the forum during the game at forum.dawgnation.com, where myself, Jeff Sentell, Connor Riley, the entire Dog Nation team reacting to the game as it goes on there in the Dog Nation forum. Of course, Chip Towers, Mike Griffith will also have plenty of coverage for you at dawgnation.com as well. The story behind the story from the Georgia locker room, make sure you check out Chip and Mike for that at dawgnation.com. Then after the game, myself, Jeff Sentell, and former Georgia punter Cameron Nislett will see you as a part of our Northside Hospital postgame show with your comments and reaction to what happens in a Georgia, what we hope is win against UMass here this afternoon. Speaking of comments, let's get ready to take some of those right now. We are just a couple of minutes away from the start of the dog walk. We'll obviously get ready to cover that as Harry Dogg's already giving some high fives to folks right now. Rhodey Williams has got his prediction for the game. He says 49-10 Dogs. If Rhodey's right, that'll make a lot of UGA fans very happy there. Santiago D. Arn says, what's the score of Maryland? Santiago, maybe somebody in our comment section can help us out on that. Maybe somebody even around here has heard as well. But when I was walking in to get set up for our Kroger Kickoff here, I saw Maryland with a 17-3 lead over Ohio State. That may have changed since then. That's been a few minutes ago. But earlier, Maryland had 2014. Okay, so it looks like Maryland's still holding on to a lead, although it has tightened up a bit. 2014, Terps on with their interim coach, by the way, on top of the Ohio State Buckeyes right now. Number 10, Ohio State, maybe peeking ahead a little bit to a big rivalry showdown next Saturday against Michigan, where the winner will win the Big Ten East and likely have an inside track into a college football playoff berth. Richard Kenmore says 24-17 Maryland at halftime. Pretty interesting on that. DeMayer asking about the Citadel. There's been a lot of talk about that. Last check, Citadel 10-10 with Alabama. So an incredibly surprising score there, and the kind of thing that a lot of Georgia fans be paying close attention to. First of all, who doesn't like seeing Alabama struggle after the issues and the conversation that's been ongoing all season long with how unbeatable Alabama is? I've already seen some people in our comment section today, though, saying that they think the Crimson Tide is vulnerable. I certainly think Georgia has a chance to win that game on the first Saturday in December. I actually wrote about this at DawgNation.com yesterday, and we've talked about this a lot on Dawg Nation Daily as well. I don't think that's the kind of game that Georgia fans have to be afraid of whatsoever. Mike Mazzell may be echoing some of those same sentiments, saying that it's our year. Mike, I think that's well said there. Antoine Middleton with a funny line saying, I pray to the football gods that Notre Dame loses today. Don't forget, this is also another one of those very interesting games when it comes to playoff implications. That Notre Dame plays at Yankee Stadium against Syracuse. Now, Notre Dame, one of the big stories going into this game is the fact that it's made a very unusual uniform choice. It's wearing blue pinstripe pants in honor of the team that normally plays at Yankee Stadium, the New York Yankees. But this is not traditional Notre Dame garb whatsoever. I think some of the Irish fans, especially some of those Irish Catholics that live in Boston, which may be Red Sox fans, I don't think they're too happy about seeing Notre Dame kind of trying to replicate the New York Yankees with their look tonight. It's an unusual look, but as Antoine said, the most important storyline there may be a loss to a Syracuse team. It's maybe better than you realize. Dino Baber's done a great job with that program. Were that game to go the wrong way, Notre Dame, which has been undefeated, would probably be knocked out of that college playoff discussion, and then we'll see who's there to pick up the stead in their absence there. We'll get more of your comments. We're only a couple of minutes away from the start of the dog walk here on what is an absolutely gorgeous summer, fall Saturday afternoon here in Athens. Temperatures at kickoff expected to be around 60 degrees. Now, they'll drop pretty quickly after that, so at kickoff, if you're in the sun or in the shade, there could be a little bit of a difference in the temperature that you feel. It'll get cold before the end of the game, but in the afternoon early on, it should be plenty warm. So you got a lot of short sleeves around right now. You got a lot of folks basking in a little bit of sunshine here. You know, it's probably the best weather for any game we've seen from Georgia all season long. Incredibly hot at the beginning of the season, as many of you remember. Pretty cold last Saturday. This is as close to perfect as we've gotten on a fall Saturday thus far for the 2018 season, at least here in the state of Georgia. And I think a lot of Georgia fans are soaking all this in. Let me get a few more comments as they come rolling in. DeMayer asked, did the Citadel pass the ball any? That's a good question. I think we'll be looking more at that. And obviously on our Northside Hospital postgame show, we'll look in more at what happened in that game there today. But it's a surprising score nonetheless. The Citadel actually got a lot of attention coming into the game because they had tweeted out some videos. You know, every program now has hype videos. From that standpoint, the Citadel's no different. They showed off their new uniforms in a hype video, and it almost had the ring to some folks, maybe among the national media, that the Citadel, which is also known as the Bulldogs, were talking trash ahead of Alabama. I don't think that was the case at all necessarily, but they were proud of the uniforms they showed off, and they did remind folks that the last time they wore those uniforms against an SEC opponent, it was against South Carolina in 2016, a game that actually the Citadel won, or I should say 2015, a game that the Citadel won. So there's some attention being paid to that, and obviously, though, so far, the Citadel, whatever talk they had, they are backing it up thus far. Cindy and Kenny Shaw here as a part of our Kroger Kickoff, checking in from Fort Worth, Texas, saying go Dogs. Well, Cindy and Kenny, here's what I can tell you. You may be watching the Dogs in Fort Worth now. There are a lot of Dog fans who hope they're also watching the Dogs from Fort Worth coming up in just a couple of weeks. As you will remember, the Cotton Bowl location there at Jerry World is one of the two spots reserved for the national semifinals this year in the college football playoff, the other being the Orange Bowl in Miami. So there are plenty of Georgia fans that wouldn't mind also watching the Georgia Bulldogs from at least near Fort Worth a little later on. So that should be a lot of fun. Thanks for checking in. Tyler Worthen also talking about Alabama having a little bit of trouble with the Citadel. And really, we'll have some fun at Alabama's expense, but it's probably also worth pointing out that I would imagine that Kirby Smart used that a reminder here as well. I've really appreciated some of the things that Smart's had to say today, and I know that a lot of Georgia fans will as well throughout the week. Smart talking about the fact that Georgia really doesn't treat any opponent any different than the other. Sometimes when it's a rivalry game, you almost wish you'd talk the rivalry up a little bit more. But when it's a game like this, you're grateful for the alternative, which is that the same level of intensity that Georgia uses for an Auburn or a Florida. It'll have at least some version of that intensity here today, and that should be a lot of fun to watch unfold. Luis Montezuma is going to pick for today's game. He says 100 to -3. That'd be a pretty impressive score. Michael Shalaba, by the way, checking in, our buddy. Michael, a longtime friend of Dog Nation. He's actually a Maryland grad as well. So you know that he's loving the fact that the Terps are on top right now of Ohio State. No doubt Shalaba's having a good time with that. We appreciate him checking in. You got Charles Felder says, go Citadel, go Dogs. Yeah, the great thing, if you want to cheer for the Citadel against Alabama right now, you really don't have to say anything different than you normally do. The same way you cheer for the Bulldogs at 4 p.m., you can cheer for the Bulldogs at noon there as well, of the Citadel variety, also a military school. So if you support America's Armed Forces, supporting the Citadel is an easy extension there too. Tim R.L. Kitchen says Alabama's struggling. Yeah, a lot of folks, I would say that the talk of this noon window so far, these early games that kick off ahead of the Georgia Bulldogs, the talk of this so far has been the fact that Ohio State, number 10 in the country, is struggling against Maryland, losing the game. And Alabama, in an even bigger shock, as a 50-point favorite, has been in a tie game situation with the Citadel. So we'll do our part to keep you updated on all of that. And we'll keep talking about that because those are a couple of interesting surprises thus far this afternoon. I will tell you, as far as action later on today, nationally, not a ton of great games. Maybe the best game involving ranked opponents today. Y'all help me out with this. Is it Texas, Iowa State? Is that the best game today involving ranked opponents? You've also got, I guess, UCF hosting Cincinnati. That's a battle of ranked opponents as well. And the SEC, for a lack of a better phrase, the marquee game, 3:30 on CBS. Tennessee at home hosting Missouri. What's interesting there from a Georgia standpoint is that the Vols, in addition to hosting the Tigers, will also be hosting 3 UGA commits. 4-star linebacker Tresman Marshall, 5-star defensive end Nolan Smith, and 5-star defensive lineman Trayvon Walker, all expected to be on hand there. We talked about this on Dog Nation Daily yesterday. I think that visits like this are a part of the recruiting process, especially when you're going after the elite recruits that exist in college football. If I was worried about any of these 3, for me, I'm more worried about Marshall than the other 2. But obviously you can weigh in on that issue in the comment section if you want, as the Georgia Bulldogs chant goes back and forth here on both sides of our lineup and our setup here as we roll on with the Kroger Kickoff. I've got more of your comments coming up. Let me take a moment to reset who we are, what we're doing. My name is Brandon Adams. You're watching Dog Nation's coverage of the Kroger Kickoff, where we'll bring you the dog walk here coming up in just a moment. You'll get a chance to see Georgia coach Kirby Smart. And really for the last few weeks, Smart has been the, no pun intended, lead dog out on the dog walk. He's been out in front of all Georgia players. Last week it was a great moment with a lot of the kids who were on hand. Smart came up, a lot of high fives, a lot of handshakes. It was really an incredible moment. We'll look forward to hopefully getting a chance to see the same thing with some of the young kids who've gathered here for the dog walk here today. Of course, huge thanks to Kroger for making all this possible. Make sure you check out those yellow tag savings at your local Atlanta Kroger on every aisle. You're getting ready for Thanksgiving. You're hosting a big party for the game today, whether it be holidays, game days, whatever else. Your local Atlanta Kroger's got you taken care of on that. We'll also have Northside Hospital postgame show. Immediately after the game, we'll be right there to my right at the UGA bookstore. Today, by the way, before the game, the great former Georgia running back Nick Chubb. And it always seems weird to say former when you talk about Chubb because of the way that he endeared himself to Georgia fans over the course of the last 4 years. But indeed, Chubb is no longer an NFL player, or I should say no longer a college football player. He's now in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns, but he's back on campus today. My guess is you'll see him calling the dogs or honored at some point during the game, and you'll get a huge ovation when he does. Speaking of ovations, starting to hear a pretty big ovation right now. What it looks like is the Georgia volleyball team is getting ready to come through here. I believe that's the volleyball team. I hope I'm right about that. It's the Georgia volleyball team get a chance. They've been out passing out T-shirts and certain gifts like that. It's actually been kind of a cool thing thus far this season. The Gym Dogs, the Lady Dogs, the Georgia men's basketball team, they've all taken their turn to come out and be hospitable to the folks gathering for the dog walk. And the So the volleyball team will be the latest to do that here today, which is kind of a cool thing to see. I'll also remind you that in just a minute or two, you'll see our camera swing around. We'll get a chance to see the dog walk as it unfolds. While we have some more time, though, let's take a couple of your comments on what you expect to happen today and what you're enjoying seeing happen around the world of college football right now, as a couple of surprise upsets are on the way to at least be brewing here. Scott Barman also reminds, I was talking about ranked opponents earlier. Scott's right about this. The highest game involving ranked opponents today is, of course, actually number 2 Notre Dame at number 12 Syracuse. We talked about that game earlier, but I didn't count that amongst my ranked opponents. But Scott's 100% right about that. Alabama has now opened up a 2-touchdown lead on the Citadel, according to Santiago Diarn. Santiago, appreciate that score update. 24-10 now, tied over the Bulldogs. All right, here we go. We'll get ready to swing the camera around. The cheers are going up. The dog walk's getting ready to take place. You will see it coming up here in just a moment as the dog walk's going to get going. Harry Dog getting this crowd fired up and excited and ready to go. You're going to get a chance to see that. It's going to be an incredible scene. We'll see Kirby Smart get off here in a moment, and he'll be ready to go. The music starts to rumble, and everybody's getting a chance to be a part of this and see all the action as it goes down. We are looking forward to being here and giving you a chance to bring you some coverage of that, and we'll make sure that everybody gets a chance to see everything that's going to go down with the dog walk as it unfolds. We'll get a chance to see this, and you'll be able to see Kirby Smart and these Georgia players coming up in a moment. They're always so attractively attired in jackets, and everybody's getting a chance to see the team gather here. I see Isaac Nada already ready to go. Harry Dog's getting them fired up. It's going to be a lot of fun here in just a moment. Appreciate you being here as a part of our Kroger Kickoff. I see Notori Johnson, unmistakable with his multicolored hair. Jake Fromm up near the front today. They're all going to be rolling by as Athens is covered in sunshine. And there are smiles all over the place, cheers going up, cheerleaders proceeding by. What an incredible scene for the dog walk as the excitement builds for Georgia and UMass. And the Dogs are making their way this way, as has been the case so much this season. The first player walking through is Georgia tight end Isaac Nada. Ben Cleveland shortly behind him. Then it's a tandem of UGA running backs, Elijah Holyfield, DeAndre Swift. Here comes Isaiah Wilson, Andrew Thomas, Cade Mays. Position groups kind of where they are. There's Sony Michelle. How about that surprise? How about Sony Michelle going through the dog walk? Does number 1 have any eligibility left? There's Trey Blunt. There's Jake Fromm right there. Here's Georgia coach Kirby Smart over here to say hello and see everybody. Kirby Smart taking some time to say hello and wave to everybody. What an incredible scene this is. Kirby Smart on hand for the dog walk. Great stuff there from Georgia coach Kirby Smart. Really taking some time to say hello. More players making their way through now. I see Malik Herring coming by. Owen Condon making his way through. Georgia making its way into the stadium for the number 5 ranked team in America. Back-to-back winners of the SEC East. A date with Georgia Tech looming next Saturday. Alabama the Saturday after that. But some business to be taken care of against the Minutemen of UMass today. Independent, no conference affiliation for UMass. Here comes Adam Anderson, by the way. Anderson, who's played a lot as of late. How about Zamir White walking through as well? Good to see White really walking nice and clean, not at least visibly hobbled at all. More handshakes and high fives from these Georgia players. They make their way in. An incredible scene here as a part of our Kroger Kickoff and the dog walk. What an unbelievable moment. And a great job by the Athens-Clarke County Police, the local university police for making all this possible. Let me say thank you to all of you for being with us here on the Kroger Kickoff. We appreciate you providing us coverage, being a part of our coverage. We'll be inside the stadium with plenty more to come on DawgNation.com and at the forum at forum.dawgnation.com. Then myself and former Georgia punter Cameron Nislek We'll see you after the game as well for our Northside Hospital post-game show from the UGA bookstore. Thanks so much for being a part of the action here. Wherever you are today, enjoy the game. We'll look forward to seeing you again next time.